Hello and welcome to this workshop for anybody who is watching. We're so excited today to have one of our wonderful fresh starts experts, Mardi Chadwick-Balcom here. And Marty is going to lead us through all the things we need to know about emotional regulation during divorce, which is a pretty huge topic. So I'm going to hand the floor over to Marty and I'm going to hide myself here so you just see her beautiful face and we will get started.
Thanks, Olivia. So great to be here with everyone today. So as Olivia said, I am an attorney. I have been a litigating divorce attorney for the last 26 years. I'm also divorced myself 18 years ago. And in addition to living all things divorce world, I am also a yoga teacher, a healer, and a coach. So just sharing a little bit about my work. A couple years ago, I just became really burned out doing the work that I was doing, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as we get into the presentation. But I wanted to find a way in which I could combine all of the things that I do around the yoga and the healing with the divorce, the work around divorce, because I know that divorce can be such a difficult time. And if we could bring some of the principles that I've learned in my healing work and coaching work to the work I do in divorce, that was always my dream. And so finally, just this past year, I took the leap and I left litigation and I have devoted myself to working full time as a mediator, coach, and consultant around this kind of work. So today I have the honor and privilege to share with you this topic of emotional regulation or wellness and why it's so important during the divorce process. So, as I say, your nervous system is the key to making the divorce process a little bit better. So, we're going to dive into that now. Okay, so why emotional regulation? Let me share with you what I think about that. So, why we are doing this. Emotional regulation, we've got emotions running high. Divorce is one of the most stressful times that we can experience in our life. And we know that even no matter how competent you are, whether you've got all the skills and training in the world, you can make bad decisions, difficult decisions, become frozen, become impulsive during the divorce process. So we have to know what happens to our biology and our brain. And our brain is in survival mode. And so it treats it like a threat. So you're going to go into a natural, what we call a fight or flight response or the sympathetic nervous system. And it's really hard to make good decisions. So if you can understand this and learn how to regulate yourself and regulate your emotions, then you can actually have an advantage in the divorce process. So I want to talk a little bit around how the brain responds to stress. So talking about the neuroscience around dysregulation. There is an expert, Dr. Daniel Siegel, and he calls it the flipped lid. So this is when the amygdala, which is our fear response center in our brain, it becomes activated and it actually hijacks our brain. So many of you may have heard about the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response. Fight, you're going to just react and you want to go to battle. You want to say things, do things, feeling there's a lack of injustice, anger, whatever's going on, you're ready to fight. Flight is disengagement. This is my response. In my own divorce, I was out of there. I would give anything and everything to just not have to be part of this process. I shut down and I fled. Freeze, that is when you shut down completely. There's no ability to be able to think clearly or to be able to take action. And the last is fawn, which was new to me. I'd heard all of the others before in my work, but over the last year, I've learned a lot more about the fawn response, which makes a lot of sense. It's when you're people pleasing, really, when you're willing to give anything and everything to the other party just so that you don't have to engage in the conflict. So we see one of these four types of response typically when we're activated. The prefrontal cortex, that's the part of our brain that's responsible for all the decision making. So empathy, rational thought, it temporarily goes right offline. That's why you may say or do things that you later regret because the part of your brain that's in control and thinking, not so. It's offline. It's taken a hiatus and the amygdala has completely taken over. So how does that look when you're in the midst of a divorce? Well, it can derail any progress that you may have made and escalate conflict. And I have seen that so many times in court. We think we're there, we think we've got an agreement, we're ready to go in front of the judge and have it signed. And one party becomes dysregulated, something happens, conflict escalates, and it's all done. And then everything that we've worked to get to that point becomes unraveled. That's the extreme version of it. The more common version that I see, and again, experienced myself, will be during the divorce process. You probably have to communicate with your partner, your soon-to-be ex-partner, whether you're separated or not. And a lot of the communication nowadays becomes text or email. And so I don't know about you, but when you get a text that activates or triggers you, your immediate response is to say what you're saying. You're typing it in, you're texting, whatever it is, and then you hit send. Awful. I've done it myself and I've seen so many clients that do that because you're acting out of that amygdala response, not your parasympathetic nervous system. You are acting in that reactive survival mode. And so you're probably doing things that you wouldn't actually do when you're in your prefrontal cortex state of mind. I don't like to say right or wrong. I think they're both perfectly normal. We just have to recognize when we're in each of them. So let's talk more about the nervous system. So understanding which is which. So if you go into the fight or flight, which we said is the sympathetic nervous system, we have also the parasympathetic nervous system. I wanted to share with you a little reading from Thich Nhat Hanh, this book that Olivia shared with me with a group of ours a while ago. I love it. It's called How to Fight, and he has some beautiful thoughts around this. So it talks about a tree in the storm. I'm just going to read that to you. So a tree in the storm. Many people don't know how to handle their strong emotions. Our wrong perceptions can make us angry or fill us with despair. To see clearly, we must calm down. When we're overcome by strong emotions, we're like a tree in a storm, with its top branches and leaves swaying in the wind. But the trunk of the tree is solid, stable, and deeply rooted in the earth. When we're caught in a storm of emotions, we can practice to be like the trunk of the tree. We don't stay up in the high branches. We go down to the trunk and become still, not carried away by our thinking and emotions. We don't say or do anything. We just focus all our attention on the rise and the fall of our abdomen, our trunk. This protects us from speaking in anger and saying or writing something that we may regret. So we want to understand a little bit about these two pieces of our nervous system. So the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight or the rest and digest. Divorce works best when both people can access the parasympathetic part of the nervous system, even during times of tension. And it takes practice. It takes a lot of practice. I want to talk a little bit about regulation. So we aim for a state of homeostasis, which means we're balanced and in the middle. So we're not at that heightened sympathetic, or we do have a depressed parasympathetic response, which is when you're just not doing anything. You're in that freeze constantly, and you're just very, very low energy, non-responsive. Where we want to be is balanced in the middle. And we're not meant to stay there forever. if you think about it like a wave, we're supposed to go up and down. We're supposed to have moments in which our sympathetic nervous system is activated. In fact, it's good for us to have that kind of stress, but we're not meant to stay there. And the problem with our society, as how we've evolved, is so many of us, whether we're in divorce or not, are stuck in sympathetic nervous system consistently. And that is wreaking havoc on our biology and our bodies. What happens is that our cortisol levels rise when we're in the sympathetic nervous system, and that's necessary. It's like, I'm sure you've all heard of the analysis that you are trying to fight a saber-toothed tiger, running away from it. That's what it was designed to help us way back in our evolutionary times. We don't have saber-toothed tigers anymore, but we still need to have that fight or flight response at times when we're in danger or when we're threatened. But we have just evolved to see many things as threats, and we don't come out of it. So the work that I try and do is helping clients become aware when you're regulated or dysregulated. And what happens is if you've been in a dysregulated state for so long, you almost don't even know that you're in it until you get out of it. So we work together to really use these tools and techniques that I'm going to share with you today as ways to help you come out of that. And then once you get into the balance or the parasympathetic state, you can start to notice when you become activated again. And it's a practice. You're never going to be right in the middle all the time. I've had clients who get very frustrated because they keep going into the dysregulated state. And I said, that's okay. Do you know when you're there? I do. That's what I want you to do, is know when you're there. And then do you know what to do? I do. That's it. That's the goal. That's all we're trying to do, so that we can then bring you back down to balance much quicker. And so then you can move on with your life and you're not acting out of this very, very stressful place. Okay. So I want to share just a little bit about the science and the experts. So there's been a lot of really great science around it. Again, I'm going to go back to our long-term expert, Thich Nhat Hanh. He was a Vietnamese monk, a Buddhist monk who really about peace. I think he actually won the Nobel Prize in Peace at some point. He just died, I think, within the last year. He's got wonderful insight. I go to him all of the time. All right, where the fight begins. When someone says something unkind to you, you may want to retaliate right away. That is where the fight begins. The habitual way of reacting creates a well-worn pathway in your brain. When you travel a neural pathway over and over again, it becomes a habit. Very often, that pathway leads to anger, fear, or craving. 1 millisecond is enough for you to arrive at the same destination, anger, and a desire to punish the person who has dared to make you suffer. The mind and the brain are plastic in nature. You can change your mind, your brain, and the way you think and feel. With practice, you can create new neural pathways that lead to understanding, compassion, love, and forgiveness. Mindfulness and insight can intervene, redirecting you down a new neural pathway. So our leading experts agree. I have a list of them here. They all have podcasts and wonderful resources. You can Google all of them and find what they've got to say. But what they agree is that how we feel determines how we think. So that's why we're really trying to become aware of our emotions and understand them and feel them. And we're going to do a technique in a little bit so that you can take away some of the beliefs around the emotions and really just get to feeling. So neuroscience, epigenetics, and psychology have all confirmed that unprocessed emotions and dysregulation shape not only our choices, but our health and our relationships. So I want to be clear that we're doing this work. It's not just about suppressing or bypassing emotions. It is about feeling emotions. It is about recognizing emotions and knowing how to deal with them so that it doesn't take you into a consistent state of dysregulation. So you will feel anger, you will feel sadness, you will feel fear. You are human, and all of these things are going to happen. This is not magic to make all of that go away. You're not sitting on a mountain feeling blissful forever. That's not the goal. The goal is to understand and become connected to the feeling so that it doesn't overtake you and that you turn either staying in that dysregulated state, or what we do is we turn to unhealthy habits to numb so that we don't have to feel. So we work really, when I'm working and coaching with clients, I'm working on helping access the feelings, process the feelings so that we have them in a healthy way. So divorce, it's a perfect storm for prolonged and unresolved stress and emotional disruption, and we know it can lead to bad choices unless we can learn to anchor ourselves and become aware and regulated. So we're going to talk about that. So why does it matter during the divorce? It matters because if either or both of you are dysregulated, you're not going to be able to make the decisions that you need to make for your family in the long run. So this is why so many cases end up in family court or litigation. And what happens is that people lose the ability to make their own agreements and decisions. So litigation just means that you're unable to come to an agreement and you have to bring in other people to help. So the way it looks in a divorce is usually an attorney for each party, a judge who is the middle person that's making the decisions. Sometimes there's collateral people involved for lots of different reasons. But when you're litigating, you are the ones that are asking because you have no ability to agree together. You're asking another person to take control of your life, essentially. And usually you have to go to court to do this. And I don't know about you, but I've spent many, many years in the courts, and from a energetic place, it is one of the lowest vibrational energetic places that you're going to be, particularly family court, because you are there when with other people who are having very similar high conflict experiences. I do like to give the one example. I practice out of Salem, Massachusetts. And so 1 month out of the year, it's actually two now, but is Salem is the destination for everyone. They go for Halloween. That's the home of Halloween. And many people want to have destination weddings for Halloween, believe it or not. Massachusetts actually requires you to have a license and a certain amount of time before you can get married. But you can circumvent that if you go to court and ask the judge for permission. So October, it's a disaster in town to drive to, but man, I didn't mind being in court in those times because those people brought a totally different energy into the courtroom. And I will say that the cases had different outcomes because everybody had a different energetic vibe. So that's the one exception, and adoption day. But typically, if you're going to court, unless you're in Salem, Mass in October, you're probably going to have a low vibrational negative experience because not only are you dysregulated, you're working with people who are likely dysregulated. Judges, in my county, we had typically 4 judges that heard cases, all of them having at least 2,500 cases on their docket. So they're seeing hundreds and hundreds of people a day and a week. And it is all with people who can't make decisions and are at their highest emotional dysregulation. So it makes the process even more stressful when people are dysregulated. So if you can learn some techniques and tools for yourself, it will be much more beneficial for everyone. So I want to talk a little bit about co-regulation. So our nervous systems are constantly interacting, right? As they're interacting with the environment around us, they're interacting with the people around us. There's great videos on YouTube or on social media that shows if you put 2 tuning forks together that are on the same vibrational wavelength, and they'll move together. It's fascinating, and that happens to our bodies. So we can actually influence each other. But if one person has severe dysregulation, it can pull another person into that severe dysregulation. The same is true, though, for people who are regulated. So if you are regulated, there's a possibility for you to pull other people out of dysregulation. So when I work as a mediator, my goal is to help both people come into regulation. First, we have to learn how to identify dysregulation, and then we work towards regulation. And I have to keep myself regulated. An example I had one case that I'm still litigating. I can't get rid of it because the other party is so dysregulated, and my client was very dysregulated. And when I took it, I was very dysregulated with very negative outcomes. My client did a lot of work on her own, coaching with me. She had her own therapist as well to fix her nervous system, to really honestly work hard on regulation. And she has a very long trauma history. And I ended up not leaving my practice. So I became much more focused on my own nervous system regulation and healing as well. And these last three court appearances that we've been in, everything has shifted for her and for me. We've had a completely different outcome, and we have the same judge. That's how it works in our county. And the judge's disposition, her decisions have completely changed. So I don't know. I can't say whether or not that is in fact what made it happen. I choose to believe that it is. And I think that when you can co-regulate with your attorney, with your partners, whether it be whoever you're around, right? Being able to shift and notice when someone else's dysregulation is pulling you out of your own. So that is an important piece. Okay, let us go on to the next one. Uh, so we're going to talk about some tools to help you regulate, how to stay grounded in the process. I think I've given you enough information. I want to start getting into the practice. You don't have to go to hours of therapy every week to learn regulation. You can, and there's certainly so many great resources and tools out there, but small, consistent practices like we're going to do today, some deep breathing, activating your vagus nerve, some tapping I'm going to teach you, and mindfulness and just tracking your emotions, that can make significant shifts for you. So I want to talk about one, the power of the pause. I'm going to read you another Thich Nhat Hanh. He's got this going. Let me find it. A pause. So suppose someone just said something unpleasant to you. Their words and the sound of their voice give you an unpleasant feeling. You believe they are trying to make you suffer. Of course, you feel the desire to react, to say something back. You feel that if you can express your anger, you can make them suffer and you'll get relief. Most of us react in this way. But mindfulness can help us pause for a moment and become aware of the anger building up in us. Stopping gives us a chance to acknowledge and transform our anger. When we feel anger, irritation, or indignation arising, we pause. We stop and come back to our breathing straight away. We do not say or do anything when we're inhabited by this kind of energy, so we don't escalate the conflict. We wait until we're calm again. Being able to pause is the greatest gift. It gives us an opportunity to bring more love and compassion into the world rather than more anger and suffering. So if you take nothing else from this workshop, I would love for you to take this concept of the power of the pause. And I'd like to do it in a rule of three. That way I just remember it a little bit more. So when you notice that you're becoming dysregulated, you get that text, something triggers you, you pause, you take a breath, take a deep breath in and exhale. Now I invite you to notice three things around you. So if you're in your car, maybe if you're driving, you notice the road, maybe your hands on the steering wheel or whatever it is. You become aware. If you're seated somewhere, notice the chair beneath you, notice the energy around you or like the light around you, the room that you're in, whatever it is, just pick three things. Then I invite you to feel three things. I feel angry right now, or I feel hurt, or I feel outraged, indignant, whatever it is, find 3 feelings and acknowledge them, recognize them, speak to them, say, I see you or I feel. And then the last piece is to take 3 long, deep breaths. So we're going to do some breathing in a moment, but you breathe. Then you pause again and just check in with yourself, noticing if you've switched. This is one of the quickest ways to switch from that state of true anger or whatever the feeling is into a little bit of a more relaxed state. If you still feel those feelings that you need to act, what I suggest folks do is if it's an email or a text, you can write it out, write out the response, but do not hit send. I don't ever suggest writing a text out because you accidentally could hit send way too easily. Write it in your notes. If you're on your phone, write it in the notes section, and then it's there. If you need to speak it out, some people do much better talking, record a voice memo. But you're getting it out of your system, and that is a very active way to release and let go. Then I suggest waiting. Minimum of 3 hours, rule of 3, minimum of 3 hours, preferably 24. Come back to it in 24 hours, reread what you've written, re-listen to that memo, and decide, is that still how I want to respond right now? 9 times out of 10, it's not. And then you have a different way. You've accessed a different part of your brain. You're back, the prefrontal cortex is back online, and you can make a different decision. And I will tell you, if I had done that, wow, things could have absolutely been different. I was one of the biggest offenders of immediately responding. I felt like I had to get it off my chest. I had to just get it out there into the universe. And it didn't always go so well. In fact, it never went well. If I had waited, I did eventually start to implement this. And I've been divorced 18 years and I still have to communicate with my ex-husband. I do it differently now. I wait, I give myself a minimum of 24 hours. There's nothing that's that important in this world we're in right now that has to have a response that quickly. So the power of the pause, work it, do it, own it, highlight it, this tape it up, write it down, put it on a sticky somewhere. Okay. Now I want to dive into some experiential work. We are going to do a little bit of breath work, but first, Thich Nhat Hanh's going to bring us home. So go ahead and if you're driving while you're listening to this, you're not going to do this. You're just going to come back to it at a time when you're in a safe place. But if you're somewhere that you're seated, I invite you to go ahead and feel your feet on the floor. Maybe straighten your spine a little bit, shoulders down and away. And if you're so inclined, you can close your eyes or find a soft gaze towards your belly. And we'll start with making peace, again from Thich Nhat Hanh. Mindful breathing is a wonderful way to help you make peace with yourself. Simply bringing your full awareness to your in-breath and to your out-breath, you slow down. While you practice mindful breathing, you become present. You do not have to know what to say or do. Whatever else is going on, you can take a moment to simply notice. Breathing in, I am aware I am breathing in. Breathing out, I am aware I am breathing out. Breathing with awareness, peace comes naturally. The energy of mindfulness has the elements of attentiveness, concern, and friendship in it. Just by practicing awareness of your breathing, the person you are having difficulty with may notice there is a change taking place in you. Although you have not yet reopened communication or started the process of making peace with the other person, your peaceful energy already has had an effect on them. When we are aware of our breathing in and out, we are on the path to becoming more mindful, and mindfulness is the beginning of awakening. So we're going to breathe together. So let's start with some grounding. Feeling your feet on the earth letting your hands rest wherever feels most comfortable, perhaps in your lap. And again, if it feels safe to close your eyes, you just gently close your eyes. And you begin to notice what it feels like to breathe. No need to change. Just notice that you're breathing in and breathing out. Feel the belly expand when you breathe in. And feel it soften and relax as you breathe out. Breathing in, I'm aware I am breathing in. Breathing out, I am aware I am breathing out. Good. I want to move to a visualization. So imagine grounding cords coming out of the bottom of your feet, connecting you to the earth energy. You are safe in this moment. You are connected. Stay with your breath. Breathing in. I know I am breathing in. Breathing out. I am aware I am breathing out. Now I invite you to notice if you feel any tension or stress in your body. Just notice. Perhaps in the shoulders, perhaps in the belly, the face, wherever it is. Can you begin to feel that stress? Feel that tension. Locate it physically in the body. Does this feeling have a color, a texture? Perhaps it has a size. How big or small is it? What shape is it? Just notice. And also notice if there's any story that you're telling yourself about this stress or tension. Recognize the story and just let it go. Come back to the physicality, the size, the shape, the location of the tension. Looking at it with objective eyes. Good. Now I want you to come back to your breath. Perhaps coming into some long, deep breathing, feeling your belly expand as you inhale, and feeling it soften as you exhale. And if you like, you can place your hand on the location of the sensation now. Begin to let your breath travel to the space. Perhaps you can even envision a bright light, a healing light and energy traveling now with your breath. Good. Now I want the breath and the light to completely envelop this sensation. Imagine it wrapping around the sensation, beginning to dissolve the sensation. The healing light is breaking it up and letting the breath begin to move it out of your body. You can imagine it leaving your body through the grounding cords, going back to the earth. And if it still feels like it's there, take another breath. The breath and the light completely enveloping the sensation and letting it dissolve and release. And you're welcome to take a moment to thank that sensation. It has a lesson, and even if you don't know it now, you can just thank it, bless it, and release it. Let it go. Good. Take one more breath. Inhale and exhale. You can wiggle your fingers and toes. Coming back to the space now. Good. Let's take a moment and check in how that was for you. That is a technique that you can learn or you can use anytime that you need to release and help you when you're feeling a feeling in your body to kind of make it so it's not so personal and that you can actually look at it objectively and use that technique to help release it. So I wanted to also share a little bit of tapping with you. So there's two types of tapping that I typically use. And one is EFT, it's called Emotional Freedom Technique, which is a somatic energetic tapping. And the other is body tapping. They're both, which we're tapping our chakras. They're both tapping into the energy, and we use our hands, our fingers, or the sides of our hands when we're doing it, depending on which version you're using. And our hands have energy meridians, acupressure points in it, as do the places that we're tapping. So it's this beautiful connection of engaging the energetic body. So when we're going to do a practice of EFT tapping. I'm going to talk you through that. So as I said, it's this energetic and somatic, which somatic just means embodied experience, a practice that activates the meridian points along the system. We're also engaging our subconscious mind by saying some things. So I'm going to talk you through that. But physically, the tapping itself reduces our cortisol, which, as I said before, is the stress hormone. Energetically, it's balancing our subtle energy system and releasing the blockages. And subconsciously, the words are helping us rewire all our old belief patterns, reducing fear, and shifting how we experience stress. So, by combining the movement, intention, and language, we engage our body and our subconscious mind. And that's what makes this such a powerful regulation tool. I do it with all my clients. I have some general tappings that can be used for divorce when you're experiencing it. And then when I'm working one-on-one with folks, we create specific ones for whatever they're moving through. So as we move through this short, we're just going to do a 2-round sequence together. Usually it's 4 or 5 rounds, but I just want to give you an experience of it. Just noticing how your body feels and noticing that just a few minutes of presence and breath and doing the tapping can create some significant shifts. So when we begin to tap, we always want to acknowledge how we're feeling and noticing what that feeling is. And we rate it the intensity on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the most intense that you feel that feeling, and it's usually a negative feeling, 0 being not at all. So when you tap, you usually want to have something around a 4 or 5 or higher so that we can bring it down to a 0. If you're at a 0, you probably don't need to tap because you're feeling fine. So notice where you're at on a feeling of stressors, any stressor that you're having related to divorce. And this tapping is going to be about divorce. And you can repeat after me. I'm going to pause. I'm going to say something. You repeat after me, preferably out loud if you can. It's a little bit better for the subconscious. But if you need to just say it in your mind, that's okay too. So we always acknowledge how we're feeling by starting on the top of the side of our hand, and I'll talk you through all of the points. So we start on tapping on the side of our hand. You can use you can use either hand, it doesn't matter. So you can repeat after me. Even though I feel overwhelmed by everything this divorce is bringing up, I honor how I feel, and I'm open to calming my mind and body. Good. We stay on the side of the hand. We do it 3 times. Even though I feel uncertain about my future, I acknowledge the fear and I choose to breathe through it. Even though the financial and emotional stress feels like too much sometimes, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Good. Okay, we're going to move right to the eyebrow point. You can use one hand or two. It's up to you. I'm going to use one. Doesn't matter. So much stress right now. Side of the eye. I don't know how this will turn out. Underneath the eye. It's affecting everything in my life. Under your nose. I feel scared and unsure. Chin. I feel the weight of all the decisions. Collarbone. It's hard to trust the process. Good. Underneath the arm. My nervous system is on overload. Top of the head. And I'm doing the best I can. Good. We're going to move through the second round. I'm allowing myself to slow down. Side of the eye. I am choosing one breath at a time. Underneath the eye. I'm learning to calm my nervous system. Underneath the nose. I don't have to do it all at once. Chin. I can soften into this moment. Collarbone. I am safe in this breath. Underneath the arm. I have more power than I realize. And top of the head. I am open to finding peace, even now. Good. Shake out your hands. Take a slow, long breath in and exhale. And just notice how your body feels. If you rated that intensity on that scale of 0 to 10, I would invite you now to check in and see how you're doing. Notice if the number has come down at all. As I said, typically we would do at least another 2, sometimes 3 rounds of it. And if your number doesn't come down, I always invite folks to come back to do the rounds again. So this is just one tool in your toolbox that you can use to help move you out of states of dysregulation. And if there's something that you're particularly working on, a topic that needs more attention, then that's what we create these for. So that is the chakra, or that's the emotional freedom tapping. And then the chakra tapping, I'm going to make sure that Olivia has a video to share that I do a full sequence of body tapping through the chakras. But essentially you use the sides of your hands, and I'm going to stand and see if you guys will be able to see me. I always start 2 inches beneath my belly button. We tap there. I move up through all the chakras. This starts at your second, your third. We go to the heart, and then I do some other pieces of it. But even if you just do tapping at your second chakra, I do it all the time, all the time. I do it while I am in my car, not driving, but at stoplights or stuck in traffic. I do it when I'm in the grocery store and I'm waiting, or when I used to be at my copier, wherever it was at home. It's a way to just bring you out of what's happening here or out of a busy mind and into your body and create energy. It is one of the quickest ways to have an energetic shift. And I'll do it with my clients. We would do it in court while we were waiting. We would be tapping. So it is tapping and breath work are 2 of my very favorite tools. And so that's why I wanted to share them with you all today. So that is what we've got, bringing it all home for you, some tools and techniques and the importance of it. And there's some ways to reach me if you wanted to reach out and find some more. As I said, I'm no longer a litigating attorney, but I do a lot of consultation, and I'm really focusing my practice on mediation. I believe that it's not right for everybody. And I even have a quiz that we'll make sure folks can have and take if they're interested in it. But it is an alternative that's much more affordable and allows people an opportunity to have agency and choice over their divorce. And it doesn't have to be the battle always that we think it is. There's opportunity to make different choices. So thanks so much for spending some time with me, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Amazing, Marty. This is like a master class in emotional regulation, honestly, for any topic. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We will make sure that this is uploaded wherever you see this with Marty's information. Please reach out to her, sign up for any mailing list because she, has a lot of things going on all of the time. Go give her a follow on social media, and of course, you can find Marty at Fresh Starts and the Expert Guide. Thank you so much, Marty.
Thanks, Olivia. It's been great to be here. Take care.